In the heart of the bustling city stood an unassuming, sprawling building known as the Midnight Mart. It was a 24-hour supermarket, always brimming with customers and staff. Yet it held a dark secret that lingered just beneath its brightly lit aisles. The building had once been an old factory, abandoned for decades before being repurposed. Whispers of its haunted past were often dismissed by the employees, but some swore they felt an eerie presence during the late-night shifts. Samantha, a diligent night manager, often worked the graveyard shift. She took pride in her job, ensuring that the shelves were stocked and the store ran smoothly even in the dead of night. One particularly quiet evening, around 2 a.m., Samantha noticed that the usual hustle and bustle had died down to an unusual stillness. The fluorescent lights flickered occasionally, casting unsettling shadows along the aisles. Deciding to do a routine check, Samantha grabbed her flashlight and began her rounds. The soft hum of the refrigeration units was the only sound accompanying her footsteps. She walked past the produce section, the bakery, and the dairy aisle, finding nothing out of the ordinary. As she approached the frozen food section, a sudden chill ran down her spine. The temperature seemed to drop unnaturally, and she could see her breath misting in the air. Samantha shrugged it off, attributing it to the powerful freezers. Just as she turned to head back to the front of the store, she heard a faint, rhythmic tapping sound. It was so soft that she almost missed it. She paused, listening intently. The tapping seemed to be coming from the stockroom at the back of the store, a place rarely visited by anyone except the stock boys. With her curiosity piqued and a sense of unease growing, Samantha made her way to the stockroom. She opened the door, her flashlight piercing the darkness. The tapping grew louder, echoing off the concrete walls. The stockroom was a maze of towering shelves filled with boxes and supplies, and Samantha had never liked going in there alone. She followed the sound, weaving through the narrow paths between shelves. The tapping led her to a far corner of the stockroom, where an old rusted door stood slightly ajar. Samantha hesitated, her hand trembling as she pushed the door open. Beyond it was a small, dusty room filled with forgotten equipment and broken furniture. The tapping stopped abruptly as she entered, leaving an unsettling silence in its wake. Samantha shone her flashlight around the room, seeing nothing but cobwebs and dust. She was about to leave when she noticed something strange, a set of footprints in the dust, leading to a dark corner of the room. Her heart pounded as she followed them, her flashlight revealing an old, cracked mirror leaning against the wall. The mirror was covered in grime, and as she approached, she saw something written in the dust on its surface. "Help me," she gasped, stumbling back. The tapping resumed, louder and more frantic than before. Samantha turned to flee, but the door slammed shut, trapping her inside. She banged on the door, shouting for help, but her cries seemed to be swallowed by the darkness. The tapping grew louder, now accompanied by a faint whispering that sent chills down her spine. Terrified, Samantha turned back to the mirror. The writing had changed. It now read, "Find the key." She frantically searched the room, her flashlight beam shaking as she rifled through old boxes and drawers. Finally, she found an old, rusted key hidden beneath a pile of rags. She grabbed it and ran to the door, her hands trembling as she fumbled to unlock it. The door creaked open and Samantha stumbled out, gasping for breath. The tapping and whispering ceased instantly, leaving her in an eerie silence. She slammed the door shut and leaned against it, trying to calm her racing heart. After a moment, she forced herself to move, needing to get out of the stockroom and back to the safety of the main store. As she walked back through the aisles, she noticed something strange. The lights had stopped flickering and the store seemed to have returned to normal. She reached the front of the store and found her assistant manager, Mark, who looked at her with concern. "Are you okay, Sam? You look like you've seen a ghost," he said. Samantha forced a smile, not wanting to seem foolish. "I'm fine. Just a little spooked by some noises in the stockroom. Probably just the building settling," she replied, though she knew the explanation was flimsy. The rest of her shift passed without incident, but Samantha couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her. She finished her rounds and headed to her office to review the security footage, hoping to find some rational explanation for what had happened. As she watched the footage from the stockroom, her blood ran cold. The cameras had captured the door slamming shut and the tapping sound, but there was no sign of what had caused it. Determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, Samantha did some research on the building's history. She discovered that the old factory had been the site of a tragic accident decades ago. A fire had broken out, trapping several workers inside. Many had died, and their bodies were never recovered. The factory had been abandoned shortly after, left to decay until it was eventually converted into the supermarket. Samantha found an old newspaper article detailing the tragedy. Among the names of the deceased was a young woman named Eliza, who had been known for tapping on the walls to communicate with her co-workers. It was said that she had been trying to signal for help when the fire consumed her. The story sent chills down Samantha's spine. Could Eliza's spirit still be trapped in the building, seeking help? The next night, Samantha returned to the stockroom with a plan. She brought a candle, some sage, and a small bell, hoping to perform a cleansing ritual she had read about online. As she entered the dusty room, she felt the temperature drop again. The tapping resumed, softer this time, as if encouraging her. She lit the candle and the sage, waving the smoke around the room. "Eliza, if you're here, I'm here to help you. Show me what you need," she said, her voice trembling. The tapping grew louder, leading her to the mirror once more. This time, the writing was clear. "Find my resting place." Samantha knew she had to find where Eliza's remains were hidden. She spent the next few nights searching the stockroom, going through every box and piece of furniture. Finally, she found a small hidden compartment behind a loose brick in the wall. Inside was a tarnished locket and a set of old keys. She took the locket and keys, feeling a sense of sadness and relief. The tapping stopped, and the room felt warmer. Samantha knew she had to give Eliza a proper resting place. She contacted the local authorities, who helped her arrange for a proper burial for Eliza and the other victims of the fire. After the ceremony, the eerie occurrences at the Midnight Mart ceased. The lights stopped flickering, the tapping was gone, and the store felt lighter, as if a heavy weight had been lifted. Samantha continued to work the night shift, but she never felt alone again. She knew that Eliza and the others had finally found peace thanks to her efforts. The story of the Midnight Mart's haunting became a local legend, a chilling reminder of the building's dark past. Employees and customers alike would sometimes speak of feeling a gentle, comforting presence late at night. For Samantha, the experience was a turning point. She had faced her fears and helped restless spirits find peace. And though the Midnight Mart was now free of its haunted history, she always kept the locket with her, a reminder of the bravery and compassion that had guided her through the darkest of nights.